Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Cooking up something special for supper tonight. Remember when you were a kid and you were so excited when it was mac and cheese night? Well, I had the opportunity to visit a Walmart in Saskatoon a couple of weeks ago, and I picked up a box of Kraft Dinner. Apparently, this is the Canadian version of mac and cheese, and there are some differences. I'm going to be doing a compare and contrast video this evening. I hope you'll join me for supper. So first things first, a box comparison. The US version definitely has a lot more pictures on the box. Got this panel that says no artificial flavors, preservatives, or dyes. Got something telling you to smile, it's the cheesiest. Got a little panel with some cheat sheet for your calories, saturated fat, sodium, and total sugars, which I believe is now a regulatory requirement in the US. Got enlarged to show detail what you can expect your macaroni and cheese to look like. Got the famous Kraft Macaroni and Cheese noodle. Being from Urbana, Illinois, I can tell you that the giant noodle statue does exist there in Champaign. Pretty exciting. And then we've got our Kraft Dinner box. It's quite a bit simpler, kind of a cleaner design, a bit more blue. The KD, which is famous, apparently, in Canada, because they just call this Kraft Dinner. You do also have a little picture of what you can expect your noodles to look like, and because there are two official languages in Canada, you get it in English and French. So, now I'm gonna move on to the nutrition facts. They take up the whole back panel on the US version, and on the Canadian version, the whole back panel on the Canadian version, just the side on the US. Initially looking at this, you would say, wow, the Canadian is more calories than the US, but that is actually not true. The US version shows 250 calories per 70 dry grams, while the Canadian version is 310 calories per 85 dry grams, which does come out to approximately 3.6 calories per dry gram for both of them. The one difference I will say is that the US version only makes about 1 cup, whereas the Canadian version prepared is 1.25 cups, leaving me to surmise that not everything is bigger in Texas. Here we are, all set up. I put the Kraft Dinner on the left side and my Kraft Macaroni and Cheese on the right side. Since I am right-handed, therefore more familiar with using my right hand, and having grown up in the US, much more familiar with Kraft mac and cheese. Also got some regular butter from Cup Foods here, and some whole milk from Trader Joe's we'll be using to prepare these delicious meals. Okay, we've got 6 cups of water boiling, and yes, I measured it out. I never actually do that, but for the purposes of science, trying to keep all other factors the same, and all cards on the table, I did put half a teaspoon of salt into each water, because that's just how I do it. Okay, so for unboxing the US version, the tab is a little half moon. And for unboxing the Canadian version, the tab is a bit more angular. It's like a hexagon, but weird. Okay, US version is open. Got some noodles. Got a plain white cheese packet. And the Canadian version, open, got noodles. And their cheese packet has KD and no artificial preservatives, flavors, or colors. And of course, got those superfluous U's in there. So Canadian, my goodness, I love it. All right, boom, and boom. My initial thought is that maybe the Canadian ones look a little bit darker. Kind of hard to tell. They do seem to both have the same type of noodles. Interestingly enough, the Canadian version says pasta with wheat in parentheses. However, it's pretty clear that you've got fortified wheat in here, or fortified pasta, because you have iron, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and folate. And you can see that here in the nutrition facts. Now, the US version actually doesn't call those things out in the nutrition facts, but in the ingredients, you've got your niacin, iron, thiamine, riboflavin, and folic acid as well. So, interestingly enough, I will say that the ingredients do appear to be pretty much the same, with that kind of lack of additional clarity on the Canadian one. So, thought that was particularly interesting. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and let this sit for approximately 7 to 8 minutes. We'll stir occasionally, and we'll be back very soon. Loki, what do you think? Yeah.
While we wait, I've decided to have some Canadian Smarties as an appetizer. Yes, these are chocolates. They're like M&Ms, but better. They're nothing like American Smarties, which apparently are the same as Canadian Rockets. I don't know. Either way, eat these. They're good.
Oh yeah. These are the special Valentine's version too. They only have them in red and pink. So here we have the Canadian versus the American. Honestly, they look quite a bit the same. And if I do a little taste test, tastes like a boring noodle. They taste about the same without the cheese sauce. Okay, so this is where it gets a little interesting. I do want to make them to standard, but the standards are a little bit different. So we have 1 tablespoon requested of non-hydrogenated margarine. Now I'm using butter, and I put 1 tablespoon in here. The US version, and this is why Americans are Americans, says that we should actually put 4 tablespoons of margarine or butter. It also says to prepare with less fat, use 2 tablespoons of margarine or butter. And so I did decide to go with the 2 tablespoons of margarine or butter, because this is going to be requesting this 1/4 cup of fat-free milk, whereas this one is going to be requesting that 1/3 cup of skim milk. I am going to use whole milk because that's the only kind of milk that I have. Okay, so I have now added the milk and butter, as mentioned. Got my pasta ready to go, and it's time for the cheese sauce reveal. We'll start with the US version, since this is what I grew up with. Look at that. Bright orange, beautiful. Used to lick this out of the package when I was a kid. You go ahead and sprinkle that on. Oh yeah, man, it's like bringing me back to my childhood. All right, and it's time for the Kraft Dinner. Oh yeah, got some bright orange in there too. They said it was a different color in Canada. It looks pretty bright to me. Oh, there we go. So got that in there. Look out that package. So color-wise, they honestly look very much alike to me. We'll give a little taste test here in just a minute. So the US, we're just gonna, taste salty and like Kraft mac and cheese. Canadian. Tastes a little pepperier. It's interesting. It almost tastes like turmeric, which is probably what gives it this bright color. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stir these in now. Start with the US. Just gonna keep going till it's done. Then we'll move on to the Canadian. Wow, look at that, like magic. So here's our Canadian version. It's I will say that the Canadian actually stirs together quite nicely, and I like that little bit of extra milk as recommended on the package. I think I'll do that when I make the American version going forward. So I will say the American maybe looks a little bit brighter orange, could be due to the additional milk. I am definitely loving the turmeric color, this orangey yellow. It's absolutely beautiful. Reminds me of a flower in the summertime, like a daffodil. I know it's not going to taste like that, so let's go ahead and have a couple bites.
And now, the moment you've been waiting for, or at least I've been waiting for it, because it's like 8:30 at night and I'm really hungry. Go ahead and try the American first. It does look a little bit brighter in color, but again, that could be because it's a little bit less watered down with less milk in there. Tastes like my childhood. And now, Kraft Dinner. Again, looks a little lighter in color. Could be because there's a little bit more milk. Definitely a little lighter in flavor too. It's almost sweeter, which could be, again, that little bit of extra milk, a little bit less butter, but definitely tastes sweeter, a little bit less salty, but again, a little spicier. Like you can almost taste the turmeric in it. Whereas in the American version, it's really just salty and savory. So anyway, either way, I'm gonna go ahead and finish these because I'm very hungry. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful evening.
Now, as far as these guys go, of course they are going to make some choices for me. So we'll start with giving them each. Got a Canadian and an American. And oops. Oh, these are you're supposed to choose. And now a Canadian and an American. Huh. Freya seems to like them pretty equally. And I think Loki likes the American better.
So Freya really likes to eat anything. She is no stranger to food. Loki, more discerning.